I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Chantal Cornelius.
And a lot of them say exactly the same things when they're doing their marketing. Boring. Everybody says it. So they've got to figure out ways of standing out. And this is where my research into the emotions that the clients want to feel comes in. Because when we can tap into how our clients want to feel, then we can go after that feeling in our marketing.
Since founding Appletree Marketing in 2000, Chantal Cornelius has spent the last 2 decades helping hundreds of coaches, consultants, and speakers grow their business and achieve their goals by making strong emotional connections with their clients. Chantal knows the key to standing out from competitors is build strong, long-lasting relationships. Her mission is to help business owners realize that the path to success doesn't involve churning out endless social content. In her writing and speaking, Chantal introduces business owners to the different standout strategies that they can use to make the best emotional connection with their clients. My interview with Chantal Cornelius is coming right up, but first...
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Seth Goldstein hosts a great podcast called Entrepreneur's Enigma. Seth, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
They will get me introducing them to some great entrepreneurs who have either found their way through the journey of entrepreneurship or who are entering entrepreneurship and can share their experiences.
Amazing. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe over at entrepreneursenigma.com. They can go over to marketingpodcasts.net, or they can just go to their directory of choice. I'm in there, and if I'm not, email me.
Awesome. You heard him, folks. Go subscribe. You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Sean Swaim hosts a great podcast called SEO Last Week. Sean, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
Anybody who listens to SEO Last Week will get all the updates of what's going on in the world of SEO in about 15-20 minutes or so. So that way you can stay up to date with what's going on Google without having to dig through 60 different blogs to do so.
That is super useful. Where can people subscribe?
Hey, we try to keep things simple. You can subscribe at Marketing Podcasts with that second S.net, or you could just search for SEO Last Week wherever you get your podcasts from.
You heard him, folks. Go subscribe.
Chantal Cornelius, welcome to On Brand.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
You know, I feel like you were tailor-made as a guest for this moment because, you know, as we're recording this, we have yet another social network on the horizon in the form of threads. from Instagram, Facebook, and everything else. And I really think you're the reminder that was there in your bio of our job is not to just turn out endless social content. And yet, whenever there's a shiny new thing, we're sort of like a dog on point when we see a squirrel or something. Yep. So what should we all be thinking as a shiny new thing appears here on the horizon once again?
It is perfect timing, isn't it? And I've been seeing posts just today from people saying, "Oh, threads, what is it? What do we do? What should I be involved?" My advice to anyone, including my clients, but everyone, is think strategy before tactics. This is about thinking about the strategic direction that you're taking your business in before you jump into any new tactics. What happens when we go tactical is we think, "Oh, I've got to be on this latest social media," and people chuck ideas in. They chuck in posts. They go all out, but they're not really thinking about what they want to achieve. So I always say to people, think strategically about what makes you different. Where are you going with your business? What are your goals and your targets? Who actually are your clients? Because when you stop and think about all of those areas, you'll probably realize that your clients, your potential clients, aren't yet on threads. They're not there yet. They're probably not the early adopters. I saw a post on LinkedIn earlier today, and one of the comments was from somebody who's really active on social media. She has no followers yet on threads. So even if we jump into these things and go, oh yeah, it's a new tactic, I must use it, our clients probably aren't there yet. So my advice is always hold back, look at what your clients are doing. If they go and hang out there, great, jump in and talk to them, but don't leap in and start churning out loads of social media and loads of posts in the hope that you might find clients, because they're not there yet.
That's such a good point, and again, a timely reminder. And I feel like we almost have, like, as marketers, the opposite reaction to these things, because we want to run towards something new and shiny, and then someone smart like you reminds us, hey, strategy, it sounds a little bit like eating our vegetables. So how can we do better at grounding ourselves strategically?
It's about listening to what our clients are saying. It's about listening to what they want from us and looking at what they're doing and looking at their problems. So I might say to the work I'm doing around standout strategies, it's a research that I started about 7 years ago. And it started because my business was floundering a little bit. I had a really young team who were going, oh, we must be pumping out social media. We must be selling social media solutions to our clients. And it just didn't feel right. So I started saying to my clients, what do you actually want from us? What do you want us to deliver? And how do you want to feel when you're working with us? And it was listening to them that made me start digging into these emotional strategies. And it actually made me completely shift the marketing that we were doing. So I always say to anyone who's not sure about whether they should be jumping on a new shiny new toy, talk to your customers. And I'm just as bad. I'm squirrel all the time. Oh, look, there's one. So talk to your customers, find out what they want, find out what problems they've got. If I say to my customers at the moment, what are your biggest challenges? They are more likely to say, oh, it's about delivering fabulous customer service, or it's about looking after our customers as we grow. They're not going to be saying, oh, I think I should be on Thread. Can you help me? So really, really focus on the customer and what they want.
Say more about that idea of emotional strategy, because again, I feel like we have our strategy baggage of it's the vegetables that we're supposed to eat and we don't want to. But then you talk about connecting emotion to it, and that's both intriguing and something that probably many at a glance think, okay, great. How do you do that?
How? Yeah. Okay. The research that I've been doing, I've identified 5 strategies. So each company that I've come across, and I can look at pretty much any company in the world, and I can see of the 5, they will have one of these strategies. And very briefly, they're certainty, connection, contribution, growth, and significance. And it's about listening to what your customers. The best thing to do is ask your customers how they want to feel when they work with you. It's not about how we as suppliers want to feel, and it's certainly not about trying to make a customer feel something. We can't make anybody else feel anything. It's about how they want to feel. So, quick example, the strategy that I use is the one that I call certainty. And this is about being a safe pair of hands. It's not fun and exciting and sexy, it's safe. But when I realized that this was what my clients wanted, they said to me, we work with you because you are a safe pair of hands. We trust you. We feel safe with you. We have peace of mind. You educate us. All of those sort of feelings and emotions. I switched my marketing away from, yay, marketing's fun and exciting, to we're a safe pair of hands. It's a completely different tone of voice. It was a real U-turn for us back then. And my customers went, well, that's what we want. And potential customers came to me going, that's what we want. We hear you're a safe pair of hands. Please, can we work with you? We need that. We need that security. So for businesses who want to really stand out, it's about identifying which of the 5 is the best strategy for you. And then I've been creating lists of words, emotions, feelings that go with each strategy, and we can then use those in our marketing to build those emotional connections. If you're talking about being a safe pair of hands, potential clients who are looking for that will resonate with it and go, I need to work with you. That's how it works.
That's fascinating. And I love the idea of word banks that go with each of those areas as well.
Yeah.
Is there, beyond language, are there other tools for reinforcing those 5 emotional strategies?
Oh, good question. At the moment, no. What I'm working on is building up a bigger and bigger bank of words. And every time I speak to anyone around about it, they'll say, "Oh, have you thought about such and such?" So I'm adding to them. So it's really about listening. I keep coming back to this, but it's so important. It's about listening to the words that our clients use, and that will help you identify which of the strategy is the right one. And then it's about weaving those words into our marketing, because clients, if I say to clients, I give you peace of mind, they go, oh, I feel that I have peace of mind when I'm working with you. So there's a really lovely resonance there. So it is about how they feel, but we identify them through the words that they use.
I love what you said earlier, that in identifying the 5 from your research, that you're able to, look at brands around you and see these, knowing that I don't want to cannibalize the brand that's made you smile later. But people that talk about branding talk about brands all the time. Are there favorite brands that you cite in saying, see, if you look there, you can see connection, you can see growth?
Yeah, definitely. So I think Microsoft, they probably don't know this, but I think they promote themselves on certainty. It does what it says on the tin. It mostly does what you expect it to do. It's safe. Everybody who likes Microsoft goes, oh, I'm always going to buy Microsoft. Apple, I think they promote themselves on significance, and that's about making customers feel a sense of belonging, part of a tribe. People who buy Apple products, I've heard this, apparently will queue up for hours to get the latest iPhone. They don't need the next iPhone, but they want it because of the way it makes them feel. It's kind of being part of a club. So those are 2 examples that I like using. Microsoft, safe, sensible, security. Apple, it's actually not about the products. It's about how Apple make them feel and that sense of belonging.
On Brand, we'll be right back after this.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Jeff Livingston and Greg Verdino host a great podcast called No Brainer, an AI podcast for marketers. That's useful. Gentlemen, tell us what listeners will get out of the show.
We discuss all the latest developments that are happening in marketing and AI, particularly the news that's impacting us on our day-to-day basis.
And we break it down and we help marketers see through the hype cycle, and we analyze what's happening through the lens of a couple of guys who have been around in the marketing space for a while.
Then we do a no-brainer and a brainer, 2 takeaways for you to walk off and implement in your daily marketing life.
And then we help you make sense of how to implement it by getting practical and helping brands and agencies think about how to implement AI in their organizations to benefit their companies and their customers.
Awesome. And where can people subscribe?
Find us at nobrainerpodcast.com. Of course, you can find us at marketingpodcasts.net and look for No Brainer any place you listen to your podcasts.
You heard him. Go subscribe.
Now, back to the show. So you talk about the output of all of this, and you kind of package these as standout strategies. And when we talk about everything, kind of coming back to the the squirrel mindset that many marketers have today, and especially these this week currently and the weeks ahead. But you package these as standout strategies, and standing out in that squirrel space is challenging. So how do we approach standing out today?
I work with an awful lot of coaches, life coaches, business coaches, and it's a really competitive industry. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of coaches. And a lot of them say exactly the same things when they're doing their marketing. They say things like, I help you get from where you are to where you want to be. Boring. Everybody says it. So they've got to figure out ways of standing out. And this is where my research into the emotions that the clients want to feel comes in. Because when we can tap into how our clients want to feel, then we can go after that feeling in our marketing. So I work with a brilliant coach, Ian, who's a Paralympic judo medalist. And Ian's strategy is growth. So he doesn't say in his marketing, I help you get from where you are to where you want to be. He talks about growth, about motivating his clients, about inspiring them, about going with them on the journey and pushing them up the mountain, or standing at the top of the mountain, cheering them on. And when you get that emotive sort of language into your marketing, it makes him stand out from all the other coaches who are just saying the same old thing.
I think that's so important, and yet we kind of get. I would imagine that there's a lot of us, and probably many listening, that think that they have an answer like you're talking about, but it's an answer that's kind of shrouded in the sameness of getting to point A to point B, or a wonderful service, or all of these things that we think mean something but really don't. And I think that's where that challenge of standing out comes in. So how do you... go ahead.
I used to... So USPs, unique selling points, unique selling proposition. A lot of people think they have to find one, but they'll say things like, well, I'm better, I'm quicker, I'm faster, I'm cheaper. Yeah, so's everybody else. And actually, that's about them. It's not about the client. And it's so important to be focusing on the client, not yourself. You are not the hero of the story. Your clients are.
Yeah, I'd also say, the asterisk on that USP is I don't think you really have one if you're just kind of adding quicker or better to something else. How can we... Is there a test, as I think about that client, that challenge, or the imagined construct of well, we're quicker, well, we're better? Is there some kind of stress test we can put our USP or our our brand positioning through to know if we've really got something that is a strong foundation?
Can I do a quick plug for my website at this point?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a test on it. So on chantalcornelius.com, there is a big button that says take the test. And what you'll see there when you click on the button is 5 lists of words. And each column has a color, because I've given a color to each of the 5 strategies. And what I ask people to do is go through the words and tick as many of them that resonate with them. So if you think about what your clients say when they work with you, how they feel when they're working with you, tick tick the boxes for those words. Then take a screenshot of that screen, because then you'll have all the words there that I keep adding to. But click submit. That fires an email to me. I look at the numbers and I can produce a report for anyone that says, this is your main strategy and this is what marketing you need to do to be using it. So you might be thinking, oh yeah, I think my strategy is growth. I think my USP is about helping my clients to grow and helping them to go places and grow huge businesses to be sold, something like that. Take the test, and it might actually show that, let's say, significance is your main strategy, which is fine because it's more about how your clients feel. And you can then adjust your marketing, as I did 7 or 8 years ago, to focus on the correct strategy. So that's the way I would suggest people do it. Take the test there.
Well, I have to note for our listeners that was such an amazingly organic podcast moment. It sounded, I just want to make sure people know that it wasn't scripted.
It was not rehearsed, was it, Nick?
Is there some kind of a test? Well, let me tell you, Nick, because that's perfect. Yeah, a test, even better. I was just, thinking that maybe you had some tip, but a test is even better. I love that, because I think we need that kind of objective scoring approach, because I think especially kind of coming back to that concept of emotional strategy, that it sounds like something that we want to nod along with and say, but how does that work? We don't understand it. And I think that's where having a system for objective ranking of your words and their meaning is kind of critical in getting beyond that sameness and getting closer to standing out today.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we talk about endless social content and standing out today, there's also an easy response there that says, yes, oh my gosh, I'm just feeding the beast here. But how do you take a step back if you've got things grounded strategically and you're looking at the social content landscape of today? Maybe you have a test here for this too, but how can you know where you should jump in as a brand and where you can contribute meaningfully and aren't just kind of chumming the social waters?
Look at where your clients hang out. Most of my clients and my potential clients use their favorite channel is LinkedIn. So that's where I spend more of my time. A little bit with Facebook. I use it more for social reasons. I have a group on Facebook that is linked to a monthly Zoom call that I do. But mostly I hang out on LinkedIn. I don't use Twitter. I'm not going anywhere near Threads. No, thank you. I don't do TikTok. I dabbled a couple of years ago in Instagram, but my clients and my audience are on LinkedIn. That's where they go to find people like me, to find my sort of services. So that's where I go. I put up an article. I write a newsletter every month, and that then goes on the blog on my website. It goes up as an article on LinkedIn. So anyone who looks at my LinkedIn profile, every month they'll see a new article that's gone up there. I put posts up. I do something that I call a Monday mention. So I say thank yous to people on Mondays. Today is Friday when we're recording this, which means, guess what? You're going to get mentioned in the next Monday mention, Nick, for thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's look at where your clients are and your potential clients. And if you're not sure, ask them. Ask what social media platforms they use. Ask where they're active, and then go there. Don't rush into lots of posting. Go and lurk for a while. So if a client says, oh yeah, I spend a lot of time on TikTok, to be on TikTok, go and lurk, see what your competitors are up to, and then do it better than them by applying the emotional standout strategy that you have. Do it that way.
That is so important, and I think it's a good reminder too. And boy, I feel like my go-to metaphor during this conversation has been all these things that we think of as eating our vegetables. But boy, LinkedIn, I would say, is one of them, because if you're talking about connecting with clients, building business, it's funny. It's almost I was even not so great at this, but when I finally kind of divorced myself from Twitter outside of just some automated posts promoting the podcasts that go out every week. It left an opening that I could spend more time there. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's where the people that I work with, that I work for. And, instead of looking at what's shiny, we need to focus on again, more vegetables, but on what's strategic and what's a good fit for our clients. And I love that you said asking them, because boy, there's a data point I reference every now and then out there that is something like, there's a majority of marketers that think they know what their clients want, but a very, very, very painfully small group have actually asked them what they want. And that's the one thing that all of these stupid tools can do is you can use it to ask people questions. So I think that's a great reminder to do just that.
Yeah, there's a very old-fashioned marketing technique as well. It's called picking up the telephone. Oh, I know.
Let's pause and give folks a moment to write that one down on their piece of paper or stone tablet.
Yes, pick up the you could make a note of it on your phone. Pick up the telephone. It does amuse me the number of times I say to clients, or when I'm giving speeches, pick up the phone. And one of my clients messaged me the other day, and she said, I'm really annoyed with you. I was like, God, what have I done? She said, I heard you speak at an event, and I was giving a talk about AI actually and how not to use it. And I finished by saying, just pick up the phone. And I'd actually given the people in the audience the challenge of writing down the names of 3 customers who they haven't spoken to for a while. And then I said, get on the phone and call them. And Donna had done this. She'd phoned 3 people. She got 2 new pieces of work out of 3 phone calls. And she was like, I hate you. I'm really busy now. So, yeah. And it's not always about making a sales call saying, hello, can I sell you something? It's saying, how are you? How's everything going? Are you okay? And then what do you want from me? What do you want me to do for you work-wise? And, oh, by the way, are you on LinkedIn? Have you heard of Threads? Do I need to bother with it? So, yeah, conversations, they're great.
That is that's great, and you made me smile many times, both with the telephone reference and others, and now it is my opportunity, Chantal, to get to ask you for a brand that has made you smile recently.
I had a long think about this when you warned me you were going to ask me this question, and I wasn't sure, but the one I've chosen actually ties in very well with what we've just been talking about, because it's Skoda, the car manufacturer. I've had Skodas for about 5 or 6 years, and I also had one about nearly 10 years ago. I decided about 10 years ago I was sick of having old cars that broke down. So I went to a guy I knew and said, find me a car on a lease. I gave him a budget. I said, you've got 3 months to find me one. I need it by Christmas. It's got to be bright blue or bright green. Those are my favorite colors. They're my branding colors. And he eventually came back and said, oh, all I can get for you is a Skoda. And at the time I thought, oh, Skoda. I remember back in the 80s and 90s, they didn't have a very good reputation. They were known for being cheap and for falling apart. They are essentially VWs, and I love Skodas because their certainty, they are super reliable, and they come in a range of all sorts of funky colors. What I love about them is actually the personal approach that you get when you have a Skoda. I have a lovely guy called Sam who works at the local dealership, and when I decided to go back to a Skoda 5 years ago, I just phoned Sam and said, I need a new car, please. And he's looked after me personally for the last 5 years. He phones me up every now and then and says, how's your car? Is everything all right? And it's that picking up the telephone. And I don't have to, if I have a problem, I did have a problem with the car, couldn't get it booked in for service. So I phoned Sam and he said, oh, well, phone the breakdown cover. They'll come and fix it for you on your drive. And they did. The other thing I love about them is that every time I have an interaction with Sam, I get a call from their customer service department saying, how was the call with Sam? Was it okay? What would you score him? I always score him 10 out of 10 because he's proactive. He's super friendly. He's always saying, are you okay? What can I do for you? I don't think you get that. Well, I've had other cars from new and you don't get that. They forget about you. If you've got a car on a lease, they forget about you until about 6 months before the lease is up. And then they say, oh, your lease is coming up. We want the car back. There's no interaction. So I feel I've built up a real relationship with Sam that I can go to him if there's a problem. I will keep going back and getting Skodas. I will recommend him to everybody else. And they've really shifted their brand in the last 10 years. I think they're fab. I love them.
I love that, and it's touched on a lot of things that we've been talking about during this conversation, from personal service to picking up the phone. I love the shout out for Sam as well. Yeah. Chantal, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
They can go to my website, which is chantalcornelius.com. Hopefully, Nick, you'll put this into the show notes, because Chantal is spelled Chantal, but pop it into the show notes and then people can find it. So chantalcornelius.com, that's where they can find the test you can find the lists of words, take the test, find out more. If you want to connect with me directly, look for Chantal Cornelius on LinkedIn in the UK. I am the only one with that spelling in the UK. There are only actually about 5 of us in the whole world with that spelling, so that's fairly unique. But yeah, go to my website or hunt me out on LinkedIn and connect.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Chantal, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thank you, Nick. It's been great fun.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.